Well, I'm out back in the junkyard and I figured I'd make a video on my newest arrival to the collection. This is a little out of date because this happened maybe a month or so ago, but here you go. 1941 Chevrolet G506. Same kind of truck as those two over there. The one with the oversized sign is a 42. And the girl wanted one is like a 44. Don't know for sure on that one. But I've been in contact with a guy. He had this on Craigslist for sale for $1,500. Been in contact with him a while and then was finally able to go check it out and buy it. Came with a bunch of extra rims and wheels in the deal and a spare motor, and of course it has this nice well-built A-frame boom on the front. Had to take that off on site, pull the truck out of the woods where it was stashed for a long time. He figured it hadn't ran in maybe 10 years or so, at least that's my estimate. It was used by a construction company in Fairbanks, Alaska, and I guess they built all the stuff on it to pick stuff up and whatever on the job site. It's set up to hold torch bottles. The frame has been completely reinforced from, like, let's see, from here, just in front of the leaf spring, actually around the leaf spring shackle too. Completely reinforced with thick plating all the way up to here. And look how serious that is. So whatever they were wanting to pick up, they had this thing set up really serious to do that. And then the boom's mounted with some bent plate, and the pipe sits in angle iron, and of course it has trussing and everything for strength. And they utilized the original truck's PTO winch and then rigged it to a pulley up at that end. They actually had the cable routed wrong, and when I put the boom back on here at home, I routed it better and works a lot better. I had this truck home. It took 2 trips. One trip to tow the boom home on the trailer, all the wheels, and then the spare motor. That was a load in itself. And then I had to have a friend of mine haul the truck back with a big gooseneck trailer because these things are over 8,000 pounds. And whoever built this setup, you know, it's got heavy-duty pipe framework, a cement slab poured into the back for counterweight, an engine block, some wheels, railroad iron, and this is an old dump bed off of like an old pickup back in the day, and they cut out the wheel wells and fitted it on this thing, cut it all out to fit the framework in. And that's actually another PTO winch from the front of one of these trucks. They turned it upside down, and where the PTO shaft hooks to the winch, they put a hand crank, and you can actually hand crank this boom up or down with 2 fingers. That's how gear reducted that winch is. It's so nice. So that made it possible to take the boom off in that guy's yard. Luckily he had a small tractor to move the thing around once it was off, but I really like that idea. And then you got your pulley over the cab there. So not all Alaska ingenuity is completely rednecked like the back of that one. But when I got it home, I worked on it for a day and had it running and driving. Had the winch working the next day. Went through all the fluids. The transmission was bone dry. Topped off everything, and then I checked the oil after running the motor a while, and it was really watery and green looking, so it's like, it's got coolant in there, so I automatically assumed a blown head gasket. So that was about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the afternoon when I found that out, and this was on a Sunday. So I pulled over to the garage, tore the complete top end of the motor off, and luckily I had a gasket set for one of these motors already, because when I pulled the one out of the 42 over there, I planned on redoing that one, but that one turned out to be needing lots of machine work, so I didn't. So I had the gasket set, and got this all back together at midnight, and I had to go to work the next morning, but that's the way it goes. It was a good time. All it needed was points, a coil, a new 6-volt battery, and then I added on a fuel filter. Runs off of the original tank fine, no dirt or rust in it. Big old filler for jerry cans, and then here's the massive tank in here. The little 6-volt. So yeah, I've picked a couple things up, and I'm really happy with it. And I don't regret paying $1,500 for it either. Got the original military tags here, serial number, and then tells you the year in there, right there, 41. And then up there, winch and shift patterns. Can't believe it has glass still. You never see that. Then transfer case levers, handbrake, transmission obviously, and PTO for the winch. Even has somewhat of a seat left. You can kind of see some old construction logo on the door from whatever company had it. But like any of these trucks, when the Army was done with them building the Alaska Highway, either the state used them to continue to maintain the road, or civilians got them and used them as their ATV/work vehicle, and they would get heavily modified to meet their needs. This is a good example of that, just like the girl wanted one. This one's been heavily reinforced and lots of add-ons. These are bigger tires than stock. Stock they would have 750/20s like that over there, and these are 900/20s. So that's kind of cool to have bigger tires on one too. And then I got a couple spares in the back. I think they just took the door off for convenience, you know, getting in and out, hooking stuff up and then hoisting it up. And they actually had it legal on the road at one time. As you can see, that was quite a while ago, 1966. So let me show you the bonus stuff I got. And another reason I could justify the purchase was I have 2 of these trucks already. So it would be cool to get one that ran and drove and I could use to move stuff around with. So not only that, but it came with these extra things like the wheels and the motor. And when this truck is ready to go on wheels, I have some to put on it now. These are pretty hard to come by, so I was really happy just about this part of it. And here's the spare 235 straight 6 that came with it. And going by how clean and fresh the paint looks, I almost want to say this was rebuilt at one time. So that would be really cool. And then when the 42 here is ready, you can drop that in there. And then this other one, this is the one that came out of that truck that was about to throw a rod out the side, so it needs pretty much all kinds of machine work and everything to be worthy again. So yeah, it's really cool the things they did to this one for mounting this bed on. So it wouldn't rub on the frame, they just used a big strap and laid the bed over it. She's pretty loaded down with all this stuff on the back, but I'll probably leave it. It's not like I'm driving it very far. And I want to say this is the original motor out of the truck, because the one in it, really strong motor still, and when I had the head off I could still see cross hatches in the cylinders, so really lucked out with that. And it's all complete underneath, not missing anything, unlike the other two. The wiring is not all butchered. Uncut firewall. I mean, look at that. You never see this, especially on a truck like this. Solid as ever, no rust at all. I mean, they bashed in the cab to make this stuff fit, but it's not rusted out. And then perfect firewall. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. Something I forgot to mention, when I got this going for the first time, I was taking it for a cruise up the driveway, you know, to try it out and everything. And all of a sudden I heard this loud bang behind me and on this side. And I had noticed when I got the truck, you know, before I got it running, this axle shaft was all welded up. So later on when I heard the bang, I saw their welds broke. This axle shaft, you know, you have this flat mounting plate, and then on the back it's a round shaft that goes all the way to the differential. The shaft part actually sheared off of the flat mounting plate, and they had to weld it. So their welds failed when I was driving it, and that's the loud noise I heard. And I could actually see the shaft right in the center where it broke away again. So I limped it back to the garage, pulled the welder out, cranked the amps way up, and just welded the absolute crap out of it all the way around. And I've driven the truck quite a bit, a couple miles from home to show some friends and everything. And it's held up so far, so I must have did it better than they did, crossing my fingers. So that's an Alaska repaired for you. So yeah, there's the new addition, and there will be some upcoming videos where you can see this truck in action, so stay tuned for those. So until then, thanks for watching and see you later.